All right, guys, I want to welcome everybody to another weekly episode of NOMBERG Law Live. And as we've been doing for the past couple of years, we come to you on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock Central, and interesting people in their areas of expertise. And this guest of mine today, Mr. Jim Reed, certainly fits that bill. I want to welcome you, Jim, to our show, and I hope you're doing well this morning.
I'm glad to be here, and with most of us, like most of us, I'm glad we're all here.
That's right. What we try to do for about 30 minutes or so each Tuesday morning is just have some great conversations. And I have found, particularly during this unsettling time of our lives, that it really is a good little break. And I want to thank you for having some time for me today. And your shop is one that has been one of my favorites ever since I moved to Birmingham many years ago. So thank you for what you do.
It makes me feel good. That's good.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know Jim is a mainstay in downtown Birmingham, and his shop, Jim Reed Books and Museum of Fond Memories, has been there on Third for many years, but in downtown for many, many years. And I'm going to butcher it if I try to describe what it is. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim. And Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself and the awesome store that you have that so many love in town.
Well, about 40 years ago, I found that the careers that I had for many years were not really what I would have selected if I had had a choice, or if I were a clear thinker. It took me a while to get my brain together. I decided that I wanted to start a book store and what I call a museum of fond memories, based on the fact that my mother, who was a very artistic, creative, sensual kind of person, would go to museums and want to touch everything because that's how she experienced the world. She wanted to be part of whatever was being exhibited. Museums won't let you touch things, and they won't let you take things home. And I thought, well, I'll have a museum where you can go touch it, you can experience it, then you can decide whether you want to buy it, then you can take it home and own it yourself. So that's where that concept came from. But it's basically a wonderful old bookstore, and the books go back from brand new to 500 years ago. We've got an incredible variety of books, just because it makes me feel good, and it makes a lot of customers feel good too, thank goodness.
It really is the type, and I'm getting ready to share a screen because I want to show you what we're talking about here. And let me see if I can pull it up here. Let's see.
We got stuff.
Guys, this is the front page of the opening of the bookstore's website. So Jim, kind of take us on a short tour of since we can't be in the store today, we can do the next best thing.
Well, as you can see, the doors open right on 3rd Avenue North. It's accessible, and you can just walk right in from a parking spot, and you can suddenly find yourself in another world.
And this is, guys, if you haven't been to the front of the bookstore, I don't know if the display is the same as it is in this photo, but it's very much, that's what you're going to see, something similar to that.
I like to put things out there that no one would expect to find anywhere.
I see the Piggly Wiggly, the old Piggly Wiggly symbol.
That's the head of a mascot.
Yeah.
Mascot itself is about 7 feet tall.
That's so awesome. All right, let me come down just a little bit. Now, is it this one
the middle
or
one.
this one?
That one.
The middle one or the
middle one would be good.
Okay,
I'm going to give you an overview of things we've had plus things we have.
Okay, I don't know how, we're not going to be able to get, let's see if we can get some sound. Well, this is the St. Louis, let me go back. Hold on just a second, Jim. Let's see if we can get it.
Don't you love technology?
Some days.
Yeah, Larry Gay, who is a great photographer here in Birmingham and Bismarck, shot these pictures of the interior of the store, some from the past, some from the present, and sort of took us on a tour that I didn't even know he had taken until he had done it. So you can see, not only do we have books upon books upon books, but we have magazines, documents, photographs, movie posters, collectibles that go with books, just things that should be in a place where you can find a surprise everywhere you turn. And
For those of you who've not been inside, this is a glimpse of what you'd see. But unless you're actually physically inside the building itself, you really can't appreciate the smells and the visual nature of it. You guys have all been in bookstores, of course, used bookstores and collectibles. But how big of a store? Because I know it goes all the way to the back. It seems like it's an entire block deep. But Jim, tell us a little bit about that.
It feels that way because everything stops you. You know, you think it's much bigger than it is because every curious thing that you look at, you want to stop and experience, and you want to feel, and you want to know about it. So it may take you 2 hours to go from the front to the back if you look at everything. But it's not that gigantic. I'd say 3,500 square feet, including storage. Well, we have had as much as 6,000 square feet in the past, but that gets more expensive through the years. So we have reduced the size and reconfigured things that go up to the ceiling rather than spread out.
Well, I know that in the past I've emailed you for specific out-of-date books, and inevitably you're going to have the book on former Judge Jack Montgomery, for example, or you're going to have a 1979 Alabama versus Penn State football program. I mean, just such a variety of things in there. But Jim, tell us about some of the more unusual items if we were to go into the store, which I know you're open for business. So actually, before we get into that, talk to us about how you're doing business these days, and then we'll get into those things.
What I did when the quarantine started, or whatever we're calling it now, the need to respect other people's space and all that, I thought, well, I still go to work every day because I sell books online in the mail, and I still have to go and process orders and stack things and organize things and alphabetize things, all those things you do in a bookstore. So rather than drive my wife, Liz, crazy by staying home with her all day and fidgeting, I go to the shop every day, and I go in. Some days I don't see anybody from the front door of my house to the front door of the store. So I'm safe in that way, and I'm wearing my cover. And I go in, but what I started doing was leaving the door unlocked so that if anybody coming by is curious and wants to stick their head in, great. I mean, we make sure they're covered and that they know to keep their distance, and we let them wander around because it's only one person at a time, usually. We don't have any problem with bunches of people coming in these days because everyone's kind of afraid to do that. So I get an occasional customer that I can show around or let wander around. And then of course, we sanitize afterwards. So we're following the rules like all good merchants, but it's also fun to keep the books alive by letting them be appreciated rather than just locked away.
And through your website that we were just on, can people browse or put in requests for certain items, whether it's books or DVDs or whatever it may be?
Yeah, part of what we have is listed on the internet. Most of what we have is not listed, so all you do is call or send an email or a fax or whatever. Use 2 tin cans and a string. Get in touch with me and ask me whether I have a certain kind of book or a certain specific book that you're looking for, and I know immediately whether I have it because I know what I have, and I know what I can find through my own sources that you can't find through normal sources. And I also know what to order that's current and brand new that everybody can get, but some people just want me to do it for them. So we've got a little bit of everything mixed together.
Well, Jim, how can folks get in touch with you? Maybe email or phone number for you?
Well, if they go to the phone number is 205-326-4460. And if they go to the website, they can find the phone number right on the website or the email address. They can get me from Facebook and Twitter and all those other things that we use nowadays.
And I put a link to your website in the comments section. So folks who are watching now live or later on will be able to just click on that link. And for those of you just tuning in, I'm talking with Jim Reed, Jim Reed Books and Museum of Fond Memories in downtown Birmingham. And it really is a one-of-a-kind type of a place. And Jim, I know that you've been the proprietor and owner for so many years. There's got to be some unique items that you have been requested to find, or that you have in the shop, or maybe with you at home, that you might want to share, that may be some fun things for us to chat about.
Well, we've had requests for everything you could possibly imagine. A few years ago, I sold the first edition of Lewis and Clark's journal that they published after they got back from their vast exploration of the West.
Oh my.
And, that was a very expensive item, and it helped pay the rent for a few months, which is unusual in this business, because most of our books are $5, $10, $20. But we do have some rare ones, and it's fun to show them off. And if people who are really interested want to see things, I will show them. If I see the light in your eye and know that you really want to see something interesting, I can show you 500-year-old books. I can let you hold it, because books are made to be held, not to be ignored and locked away. I will show you a 1939 original Mickey Mouse book. I can show you George Carlin's last book. I can show you Will Rogers, which I have right, one of the funniest men who ever lived, probably started stand-up comedy in this world and made many movies and wrote thousands of columns. He was quite an interesting guy. Or I can show you something current like this. If you're sitting at home during the crisis that we're in and watching movies, perhaps one of your favorite movies is The Princess Bride. Well, a fascinating book, if you love The Princess Bride, is the book that Carrie Elways, who played Farm Boy, as you wish, he wrote a book about the making of the movie. And it's just delightful. There are stories in there that will make you roll on the floor, and you'll get to see what a great, humane, and funny effort it was them to make that movie. So books tell about books, books tell about movies. There's no such thing as a movie or a play or production that doesn't start from a book. Books are the source of everything. A script is a book. So we try to show that to people who come in and say, oh, I've had people say this, oh, look, there's a Peanuts and Charlie Brown comic book. They took the series and made it into a comic strip. No. It started as a comic strip and the series was made. It's just fun to know these little unnecessary things that delight people when they find them out.
We've had in our family for years that if a certain movie's coming out, we've almost made it a requirement. You have to read the book before you can go see the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And inevitably, as wonderful as movies are, and most of them are great, they're never going to be able to share with you the same experience that you get when you're actually reading the book. They can't tell the whole story, that's for sure. Could you imagine how long the Forrest Gump movie would have ended up being if they'd have put everything that was from the Winston Groom book in there? It'd be going on for days.
It would be 40 hours, and you're not going to be able to sit that long. Although, trapped in your house, you might be fed.
Well, we are under some unusual times. So you're right about that. You're right about that. Well, Jim, what are some of your favorite items that you've had either as in your personal collection or that you've had in the store and sold over the years? What are some favorites of yours?
Well, I love having my own books, which I keep at home. I keep copies of them at the shop. The ones that I love to go back to again and again, because I'm a book nerd. I've been a book reader and book writer all my life. I've written a lot of books and thousands of stories, and I just can't stop writing. I've been doing that since I was 4 years old. But I'd say my favorite possession would be Ray Bradbury's first book, first edition, first printing, signed by Bradbury in 1947, and then signed for me personally in 1997, 40 years later. Little things like that mean a lot, because a book includes all your memories of what you did or what you felt while you were reading that book. And everywhere you've ever been is influenced by your experience with that book. So that's one of my favorite possessions. And I have also a statue by Branko Medinica of a red lady in the window. This was a statue that was used by an art organization in Birmingham. Branko made it for them many years ago, and then they threw it out on the street. So I rescued the red lady, brought her to the shop, and she's in the window, and she stands guard over the city. Bronco has done statues all over the world, including a replica of Vulcan for a Japanese city. So he's really accomplished. But I happen to have a little piece of art that no one knew about. And Bronco knows about it now. And it's just a wonderful thing to look at.
Well, I'm sharing the front page of the website again. Is she visible in this?
Lady to the
photo?
left, to the very left. You see
Right
her?
here?
The red lady, she's walking, she's got a hat on.
Yeah, right here on the far left. That's so awesome.
Most people don't even notice her, but she's there making me feel comfortable because I feel like we have a history together.
Well, I can assure you next time I come and visit, I will definitely notice her there. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Jim, talk to us a little bit about maybe some trends that you've seen over the years. I know that records have come back into being favored of kids and collectors. Cassette tapes and 8-tracks and DVDs and all of that. It's all technology at one point or another was very, very popular, but not all of it sticks around anymore. I mean, who has VCRs anymore? Everything is online or digital. But what do you see? What are you seeing in the shop by way of trends?
I like to know what the trends are, but I also like to keep old trends around to remind people what they were like. I have old dial telephones, which are wonderful to show to someone from the younger millennial generation, for instance, because some of them have never seen one and they don't know how it operates. You don't wake up one morning knowing how to brush your teeth. You have to be taught. And with a dial phone, you have to be taught how to use that. And it's fun to have these objects. The objects are not important. The memories that they invoke, the memories and dreams and reflections, the good memories from your past, that's what they're here for. Someone will walk in and say, oh, that's a drive-in theater speaker. And the kid with him say, what's that? What's a drive-in theater? And there you get a chance to show them what it was like and explain the experience. So everything here is meant to represent the past as well as the present, and in the science fiction room, the future too. It's fun to take you, it's like a time machine. You take you to the past, the present, and the future, all in 1.5 hour session if you come to the store.
That's awesome. I mean, how about a rotary dial phone? I bet a teenager would not know what to do with a rotary.
No, in fact, many years ago when my eldest granddaughter, Jessica, was a teenager, we had a room for her when she came to visit. And so I took out the regular phone and put in a dial telephone just to see what she would do. And of course she did what anybody would do. She goes in and she looks at it and she has no idea what to do with it, because you have to learn how to dial that phone and how to make it wait till the thing comes back.
You gotta wait for it to come all the way back. That's right. Well, what about that typewriter over your shoulder? Not many people.
That's an Underwood typewriter.
Mm-hmm.
It works perfectly, and you actually type with it. And many of the great books of the world were typed on typewriters of that kind. Dracula was written on a typewriter. Mark Twain first used a typewriter when he was writing. There are great works that came from the physical energy it took to press those keys down and make them imprint on a piece of paper. Something that someone who's had nothing but computers all their lives, they know nothing about that.
Well, guys, we're talking with Jim Reed Books and Museum of Fond Memories in downtown Birmingham. It truly is a one-of-a-kind shop to go visit. You just have to experience it, because as soon as you open the door, you're flooded with all kind of visual experiences. You're flooded with just the smell of the type of store, what's in there. But then when you start walking down the aisles, and I've noticed you've got it divided up by subjects and maybe genre, but you mentioned it a few minutes ago. Unless you've walked specifically to go to a very specific area of the shop, it's very difficult to get all the way to the back, because you keep getting stopped, because everywhere you look is something unique in there. And Jim, it's just, I don't know if there are many stores or many businesses like this to begin with. much less still being in business after, I think you said 40 years you've had this shop?
Yeah. Well, there are people kind of like me scattered all over the world. They're so far apart from each other that you don't know there's a bunch of them.
Hmm.
But it's a calling for us. If we wanted to make a lot of money, we'd go, maybe we'd be a lawyer, maybe we'd be a banker, maybe we'd be some, but we just want to make a living so we can feed the family. And we want to be around the things we love. So it is kind of like a calling. It's not, I wouldn't call it religious, but I would say this is something I do because I love it. I did not come to work dreading being in the office all day. I come to work, I can't wait to get in there and be around my friends, the books, and see what comes in today to add to the family.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. Doing something that you love is not a job. It's, I don't like that word job. It's a profession. It's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. And the fact that you right now have a smile on your face speaks volumes. The fact that you enjoy what you do. I mean, I love what I do. Not every day, but most days I do. I enjoy helping the people who need my help from a legal standpoint. But Jim, with us being under quarantine and shelter at home right now and those kind of things, and this is not going to be forever, but people are cleaning out their houses. They're in the attics, they're in the basements. What if people have things that they may want you to look at, to consider either acquiring? I'm not sure how all that works, and that's where I'm going with this question is, how do you add items to your shop?
Well, I go out looking a lot because I'm looking for just the right thing for the shop. But people bring things to the shop all the time. And sometimes it's a box of miscellaneous stuff, most of which would not be proper for the shop. But if they're donating it to me, sometimes I buy it, but sometimes they donate it. If they're donating it to me, I go through it carefully, pick out what's appropriate for the shop, and then make sure I donate it or give it to someone who really wants it. We will never, ever throw a book away. I can't do that. I'm congenitally unable to throw a book away. So we find a new home for these orphans, these foster children that are our books and the things that go with books. I don't know if that explains it, but it's my poetic way of saying what I do.
Well, one of the things that you may not have with these items, that the people bringing them to you, is the sentimental aspect of this. And that I collect baseball cards. I sell baseball cards. I get it.
Oh,
Collectibles, whether they're books or stamps or art or whatever it is, it's typically going to be much more valuable in terms of emotions, in terms of from a money standpoint or a value standpoint, that way, currency, to the people who currently own it. But they've got to understand you've got a business to run.
Yes.
So I know, I guess I'm saying that just as a general blanket statement, but maybe I want to hear better from you, is how do people get past that sentimental attachment if they truly want to part with the item for you to be able to put in your shop?
They don't get past it. I help work them past it because I've had to go through that many times myself. When I receive something as a gift or as a discovery that I fall in love with, like a book or a teddy bear or whatever in my life, I bond with it. I'm just like that. I cannot throw it away. I cannot give it to someone who would throw it away or put it on eBay. Or I have to know that it's safe, and that if I give it to someone as a gift, they will accept it as a gift and appreciate it as that. Or I will sell it to them if they want to buy it, because that's a nice way to guarantee that it has some value to them and me too. I don't like to let go of any of this unless I feel like they're in safe hands. There's so many wonderful customers who come in, and from the way they respect the books, the way they feel of the spine and they turn the pages, you can tell whether they're respecting the book or whether they're just saying, oh, I want that color to go up on next to my curtains because it's the same color as my curtain. That's okay. We sell books for that reason too. But I'm much more inclined to think about that person who will respect the book and keep it handy and never throw it away. Maybe give it away, maybe leave it to someone, maybe donate it, but don't throw it away. I just can't see that happening. So we need people to bring us their things. And one thing I do all day, every day, by the way, people ask me so much, I probably should mention this. I keep forgetting to promote myself. people bring things in and say, what's this worth? And I'll say to them, you mean what's it intrinsically worth? It's worth $1 million because it's something somebody loves. They say, well, no, you mean what would this sell for if it were on the market? I say, oh, well, I can help you with that. And I'll tell them what I know about the book, or I'll do a little research for free, tell them what I know, and they'll walk away either frustrated because it's only worth $2 and they thought it was worth $1 million,
Right.
or it's worth $1 million and they're very happy and they walk away. So either way, I've helped them, and my goal is to treat each customer like every merchant should in the world, but I can't control that, like someone really special that you're going to do something nice for, and who will spend the rest of their lives saying, I was in that store one time, that old guy was nice to me. I kind of like that place. I would like them to be able to say that for all of us customers, all of us merchants who are downtown.
You're one of the things that I've always appreciated when I come in is your collection of books about Alabama history, about the city of Birmingham's history, and about the civil rights struggles. And there is such on the left-hand side, about 20 yards deep,
You got it.
the store, there's such I doubt any library or personal collection would have this much to offer. But in addition to the brick and mortar store, in addition to your website, you're also in other areas of social media, including a podcast. So I want you to tell us about your podcast, and I'm going to put a clickable link in the show notes so folks can go find it there.
Thanks. In fact, you can find them on YouTube. It's called Jim Reed's Red Clay Diary. To me, they're all written on red clay like a cuniform, so that they'll be preserved forever. And red clay and green growth will cover it and protect it for the next generation. So the Red Clay Diary is on YouTube. It's on a lot of other media too. Or you can go to a website and see a collection of all of them on redclaydiary.com. Redclaydiary.com. Most people don't know about that site. That's where I keep all the stories. They're there for you to read. In addition to that, there's an audio version of each one. I record it because I'm an old-time television and radio announcer. So it's easy for me just to read the story and make an audio version for those who don't want to read or would rather listen to it. So I do both. And the podcast is what that is. It's a story, a brand new story every week that I write about that's true from my upbringing in Alabama or from what I experienced in Alabama. So that's just a thing I do on the side. I don't make any money out of it, but I sure love it when people make comments about it and tell me what they got from it.
Well, I consider me your newest subscriber, and I've just put the link to the YouTube channel. But what it is you're making stories come to life.
Trying to.
And it really is such a lost art. It's a way of life that's going away. I think the audio, the storyteller, and books as a whole. I'm sure that people who are still writing books, but the way that books are sold, the way the books are distributed, it's so different than it was even 20 years ago, 50 years ago. Everything is now electronically for the most part. I still enjoy having a physical book in my hand. My children prefer the Kindle or some other way to read it. Consuming it I just love the fact that they enjoy reading. I don't care how they consume it. But for example, Jim, my father, who eventually will watch this, I think he may have north of 5,000 volumes in his home and bookshelves everywhere. But he has a very specific type of book that he enjoys and genre. And if it's autographed first edition by the author, even better. I know that's all kind of people who collect in different ways. But Jim, as we get finished almost with our discussion, I really appreciate you bringing your store to life for us a little bit this morning.
I love, as you can tell, I'm happy to talk about it. The life of a book dealer is usually pretty sedentary and quiet, and it attracts introverts. I happen to be an introvert who was a child actor, so I know how to act like an extrovert, which is great fun because it gets more people to pay attention to my lovely little introvert hobby of selling books and writing books. So it's fun to be in both worlds. By the way, the past is the safest place to live. So consider that when you come to the store. You're going into the past and you're safe.
Well, it couldn't describe it or say it any better. But I want to thank you, Jim, for spending some time with us today. And I hope that you remain well, healthy, be safe, and smart. Jim Reed's Books and Museum of Fond Memories is open in downtown Birmingham. I gave you 4 or 5 ways to get in touch with Jim if you have a request or want to come visit him. But guys, thank you again, as always, for tuning in to Nomberg Law Live. We come to you every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. And we hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see you again next Tuesday. Take care.